Hello, my name is Lumi Pelinku, resident astrologer for Brit and Co. And today we're going to be exploring the month of March and to see what is in store for us all astrologically. So let's dive in. And if you haven't already, if this is your first time visiting, please subscribe to this channel and as well as like this post. And I would really appreciate your support in this because I do love to extend astrological insights and soul-centered advice because in my approach, it's much more soul-centered and it is meant for you to become much more engaging with your own free will expression and working with the stars to help support you on any goals and ventures you may have, whether it is you are wanting to power up your relationships or powering up yourself or becoming more inspired in your journey, because astrology does open up the doorway for you to explore these realms of life. And the astrology of March is really going to be an experience for us because when you're working with the Pisces energy altogether, you have to learn how to be unconditional in your life, be much more empathetic, also to extend compassion for yourself. It is the most important thing ever because Pisces season or Pisces energies in general is very absorbent, very limitless. There's no limitations at all when it comes to Pisces energies because you just want to spiral out and just feel things very deeply. And with Pisces season, the veil is thinner. It's much more, we become much more interconnected with the higher realms of life. We want to engage much more with our intuitive selves, may even feel like you want to pick up a tarot card reading or something, becoming much more interconnected with the spirit realms of life, and maybe even seeing like triple numbers or experiencing serendipitous events. It's a very receptive period, and it's meant for you to start becoming more engaging with the higher mind, more compassionate and empathy filled for other people. And you see all the shades of life in a much more observatory kind of standpoint, or at least you strive to be, because that's what Pisces season's all about. It's not a season for us to actually necessarily engage with in any way confrontation or anger or just resentment or past regret. It's more along the lines of you starting to make peace with all that you've learned so far. And even karmically, Pisces is the sign of karma because Pisces rules the 12th house of the higher conscious realms. It's an isolated kind of period because we may feel like really tired, or we may feel like what happened to us or what happened to me. It's like you have to like undergo this introspective dark night of the soul, if you will, to help you bring in the light of life, starting to help you understand as to where you are going in your life and becoming more authentic in your path. That's the nature of Pisces season. You dream much more harder. You become much more engaged and more invested with soul work, inner work. What does that mean, inner work? Inner work is more along the lines of you facing those periods and facing those aspects of yourself that really needs healing. Pisces is all about you facing the mirror and seeing what has been reflecting back to you. And I have to say that Pisces season is one of the most intense moments in my life. Even as a sun sign Pisces, I feel it very deeply too. I feel really tired and just like when is spring coming, I really need that energy. I need that step. I need to be powered up in my life, but really Pisces is meant to help you become much more reflective, calm down. And I would recommend you to start doing like meditation work, doing like much more reflections, mirror work, anything of sort where you're just looking inwardly. It's meant to help you face those periods of your life that needs to be generated. And it's hard to do that because we as souls are very introspective in a sense, but we are in the vessel, the body. The body is very earthy. It's very, it's all about really like wanting to feel certain things. We're more physical. But Pisces season, or the energetic self invested in Pisces season, is meant to help us become much more feeling and understanding of others, understanding of yourself, becoming much more invested in the process of self-acceptance. That's the general consensus of Pisces season. It's about you surrendering and honoring the light you hold inside. And that is the key to mastering Pisces season. And it's a period for you to see the magic in everything. It is not the period for you to lament on past karma or to lament on whatever it is that's been overlooked in your life. There's no regrets. That's what you have to see this, because Pisces is the embodiment of all of the human life experiences. It's about the embodiment of all of life and its shades. And Pisces season in its entirety is meant for you to look much more deep within and assess your reach and alignment with your dreams. And for you to do that, it's by you becoming more still in your moments in time and observe the current environment in your life internally and as well as externally. And in order to do so, I would recommend for you to start journaling, start meditating, become much more still. You could even do somatic breathing techniques, or you can even do painting, reading, writing, anything of sort where you're not pressured to compete or pressured to complete such measures in order for you to reach higher tier positions in your life. It's more along the lines of you just evaluating what you have been building so far in your journey. Now, as we continue this month, Mercury is still in the sign of Pisces. What does that mean? Well, Mercury is the planet that has to do with the way we communicate. It's also the ideas that we generate in our life. So when it's in the sign of Pisces swimming through, that's what you have to say. Like your communication style is more reflective or introspective. You may not be able to make sense of your messages just yet. The reason why that is because Mercury in Pisces is meant to prompt us to become more introspective and reflective as to the meaning behind our messages. With Mercury in Pisces, it's meant to prompt us to become more reflective, yes, but also with our ideas and how it takes root. It's best to do it through a reflective kind of stance, very much like Pisces season altogether. Mercury is the way we generate our thoughts and ideas. Whenever you want to structuralize the meaning behind your messages, just write it down, whatever is coming through to you, and then reflect back on it later, because it will make sense once Mercury does enter Aries later this month. Because Mercury is meant to start like helping you see beyond the confines of structural thinking in order for us to invite a much more imaginative and inspiring kind of message. Also, you can even do stream of consciousness work. In other words, whenever you have like a internal, ideas and it just keeps going on a whole tandem, I would recommend you to write it down, very much like a story, because our thoughts and imaginary realms are very fertile around this moment. So take note of everything that's coming to mind for you, okay? And also in the month of March, the first half of it, Venus and Mars are in Aquarius. This is about our love. How does it work in our life? Well, the Aquarius sign, for one matter, it's very imaginative. Yes, very similar to Pisces in some aspect. However, this requires reinvention. Venus is about love, how we value ourselves, and the ways of how we generate wealth in our life. Now, Mars is about it's like our anger or motivation or drive, like whatever causes more of this gritty feeling in nature. Now, when Venus and Mars work together, this is all tied through our love, our values, and also our creativity and our momentum in our journey. Aquarius requires you to become much more inventive and just experimental in some way or form. So if you're in a relationship of any sort, if you're feeling like you're going through a backlog in either communication or the ways of how you're connecting with your partner, I would recommend you just to take a step back and try something new in your partnership or get a different perspective as to what's going on. So it's not necessarily a moment to make decisions involving your relationship. It's more along the lines of you evaluating as to where you stand in your relationship and how you could best utilize its growth in your journey. So that's how Venus and Mars manifests for the first half of March. Now we begin with the major dates. The dates in your calendar, mark this down. On March 3rd, Venus will be in square to Uranus. This is very an intense period in our love lives, but it's also an intense period when it comes to our own dealings with our self-worth and how we're making ends meet in our life. Now, remember when I was mentioning to you before, the month of March is Pisces season. Pisces season is not necessarily a month for you to make major moves. It's more along the lines of you reflecting as to what makes you happy. Now, with this Venus square Mars, this gives you traction of some sort. However, you might hit some dead ends if you make impulsive decisions. It's about you percolating and becoming more reinventive in your approach. It's about developing, not necessarily making major decisions. So whenever this happens, in the name of your love and your endeavors, this planetary mixture can brew some blunders or impulsive decisions. So it's better for you to become more patient and understanding of your process. So on this day, patience and observation and just looking at the bigger picture. It's going to add much more of a buffer through your day. Okay. And just don't worry, because this transit's not very long. It's like within the next couple of days. So it's like from March 3rd to March 9th. So just observe your process and your story as to what's going on. Because later this month on March 28th, when Venus has a conversation with Uranus again, it's going to be a much more amicable exchange. So on March 28th, this could be a period for you to go back and reflect as to what you've been learning from March 3rd to March 9th. Venus and sextile to Uranus gives you much more of this anchored feeling in regards to your dealings with love, and as well as this anchored feeling involving your endeavors. So keep in mind about this. So anything that's been developing from now until March 28th, just take notes. Take notes, whatever it is about ideas that need reinventing, just write it down. It's not necessarily a time for you to make decisions involving the love matters or the creative matters. It's more along the lines of you just gaining information and just observing as to what you could reinvent. So that is the Venus square Uranus transit on March 3rd. Now we're going to move forward to Mercury when it conjuncts Neptune on March 8th. This is a very imaginative kind of transit. So when I was mentioning Mercury before, Mercury being in the sign of Pisces, it's about the higher realms of life. Pisces is about our karmic dealings, and it's also about reflection, gaining information through a more reflective kind of stance. When Mercury meets up with Neptune, I would say this is like a catalytic moment for you to realize as to what you've been working towards in this life. And this is an involving with your internal environment. So I would say conversations will basically slow down. You may even feel much more telepathic connection with people. Maybe you feel like much more, more connected through feeling as opposed to logic. That's definitely the kind of interchange of what Mercury can do with Neptune, because Mercury is about information, whereas Neptune is about the overall transcendent experience of your life. It's mystical, it's very romantic, and it's also involving your own stance as to what you've been building towards with your soul makeup. So in other words, soul makeup, what is soul? Well, Neptune's the mirror reflection of how you connect with the higher self or the interconnectedness of life. What have you been building towards karmically? So now when Mercury joins Neptune, something will come out of the woodwork involving like how you've been building towards this life and what you've been doing so far. You may see in clear view as to what you've been doing so far, and as well as those you've been interacting with. So you'll feel things in a certain way. However, it won't make sense just yet because Neptune could bring on a very illusory kind of feeling. It's very misty. So I wouldn't say it's good to, confront or have a conversation or sit down as to what's been building in you for some time. It's more about you becoming more reflective and creating something of beauty around this time. So you can do journaling. As I said, for the first half of this month, it's all about reflection and journaling and artistic kind of endeavors. You could do journaling, you could do meditations, or anything that involves with intuitive development. That is very ideal, because around this day, March 8th, you will feel nothing but like your psychic antenna will come up or your intuitive self will be activated around this day. So keep in mind, and it's not to tell you to become a psychic or anything like that, because we all have the intuitive ability to pick up information from here and there. However, when Mercury works with Neptune, your eyes open as well as your heart. Keep it open, keep it receptive, and just see what comes through, because magic is brewing. Now, on March 9th, Mars will be in square to Uranus. So this could be an intense moment because Mars is about drive and motivation, how we feel angry. Not to tell you everybody's going to be angry on this day, but Mars is all about how we basically get our point across. So Mars in the sign of Aquarius, this has to do with our collaborations with it, meeting head on with Uranus. Uranus is about it's like a catalyst. Uranus gives off this kind of tone of you facing with what needs to change. So it could be heated with the discussion. So just make sure you understand the nature of the argument that you intend to state. Or if you're feeling like rebellion brewing, or if you feel rebellion kind of feeling brimming inside of you, take a step back, because it may be manifesting through you talking to your superiors or people that you feel are bigger than you. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, because this is a quick sweeping motion. You have to analyze within yourself as to what you're not taking charge in, because this kind of transit is meant to activate some new understanding as to how you work with authority. Now, not necessarily authority outside of you. It's about you taking authority as to what you want to accomplish in your life, because Mars is about motivation, accomplishment, really starting something new, because Uranus really loves to create something new, alchemizing. It has an alchemizing kind of energy about it. So when Mars and Uranus meet with each other, it's good to analyze things, become more logical and linear about the reasons behind why you're feeling certain things, or why there's a part of your life that needs some kind of grit and traction. Take note, okay? Now, later in the day on March 9th, Mercury is going to be in the sign of Aries. So things will be a lot lighter when it comes to the communication, because early in the day, Mercury was in Pisces, but later in the day, around like 4 p.m., that's when Mercury enters Aries. So when Mercury enters Aries, this is going to last for the next 3.5 weeks. This is about our conversations picking up speed and traction, and our confidence maybe like even going through an upswing at this time, okay? So it's not a moment for you to actually start stating your arguments in any way, but it's about you gathering up the courage to speak up on something. Just take note, because Mercury was a little sluggish in the first half of this month and last month. But now when it enters the sign of Aries, you may be feeling inclined to really state with whatever it is that you intended, but become more calculating before you state it, okay? So at work or in your personal life, you may be feeling a pull in different directions. So it's really good to start becoming more patient in your process. And whatever is making you feel good in your alignment, that will be the barometer in terms of your future decisions from here on out. So go with your gut, not with your emotions. You have to differentiate the meaning behind both of them, okay? And then in time for when the new moon happens in the sign of Pisces on March 10th, really beautiful day, because the new moon in Pisces will mark a new phase of your life experience involving whatever it is that you're building towards in terms of your belief systems, because the new moon is taking place in the 12th house of the subconscious realms. So this is a period for us all, not necessarily to plant new seeds of intention, okay? Because new moons are oftentimes seen as manifestation kind of powered up days. However, when the new moon happens in Pisces, this is about planting a seed of intentions when it comes to your subconscious beliefs, whatever it is that has been barricaded within your higher mindset. This is a period for you to start planting a new seed of intention involving with what you believe in. What's your faith? How do you drive yourself forward in life through a conscious will? So you become more interconnected with your higher realms of dreams. You also become much more inclined to seeing the bigger picture as to what your involvement is with life. And with Mercury on this day, in a supportive connection with Pluto, so Mercury is in sextile to Pluto, this is a very favorable moment, because you will see much more of this understanding as to where you're going, because there's more warmth in this interchange on the new moon day, okay? So you'll have a lot more clarity in regards to where you're heading. And Pisces, as I mentioned before, is the sign of karma and the past, but this is also a new leaf that will be turned in your favor, because you will make peace with the past. You will face it. And therefore, you'll be guided by more of your heart as opposed to your past pain. So this is a beautiful, beautiful new moon for you to invest more time in terms of you building up more confidence and more self-acceptance in your face. Now, on March 11th, Venus will enter Pisces. Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a beautiful phase, because Venus is so exalted in the sign of Pisces. Venus is about love, as I mentioned before. She's about luxury, beauty, and transcendent of the higher self through finding beauty in everything. Now, Venus in Pisces, she is glorified in this sign, because love will be on the radar. In these next few weeks, relationships are going to be much more heart-centered, much more feeling and exalted, and you'll have more compassion for everything. Compassion for your past, compassion for people that you have been in a relationship with, or just more compassion in general. There's more empathy brewing within you, and even with people around you, you get to see all the shades of life through a much more empathetic kind of standpoint. So conversations will be even more powered up on this day because with Venus in Pisces, Mercury's in Aries. So Venus is the love, while Mercury's having a conversation. So there's more passion filled. It's more fiery and also much more clear. So you'll see things a lot more tangibly in regards to the direction of your love story here in these next few weeks. So be mindful now in terms of codependent relationships or sacrificing tendencies, because Venus in the sign of Pisces could be all accepting and not discerning, because she's a very, Venus and Pisces for that matter, it's a very absorbent kind of transit for you to experience. So you may see all the shades of a personality that you are dealing with in the love matters, but you could be too accepting where you're not being mindful of your energy. So just be mindful as to who you're letting into your space and not to fall victim to codependent relationships. Now, also refocusing your values, it's based on soul-filled connections, more about the energetic feeling as opposed to physical. That's what's going to help deepen the bonds of your connection. So focus on the spirit rather than what looks good on paper. Now I move forward to March 17th when the sun conjuncts Neptune. Do you remember when days back Mercury met up with Neptune? Now the sun's going to be meeting up with Neptune. What does this mean? Well, wherever the sun goes, it lightens up. It lightens up anything it touches. When the sun conjuncts Neptune, you're going to have a lot more of a technicolor response to life. The wondering of what could be, analyzing with what is making you feeling truly fulfilled in your life. Today is the day where you can take a chance in your life direction in correspondence to your dreams and feelings. So you have to listen carefully and take notes. That is the majority of Pisces season, but with the sun conjunct Neptune, it's going to be amplifying it even more. So pay attention on this day because you will feel nothing but reflective as to what's been going on in your life and seeing clear view of what needs to be rectified in your journey. So now we move forward to when the sun enters Aries. Finally, it gets more warm. It's more promising. It's also the official beginning of spring. It's fun. Energetically, this is going to lighten up and spark a new wave of motivation. So yes, Pisces season was very, very sluggish and reflective and all about kaleidoscopic kind of experiences. When the sun enters Aries, it's a very powerful and motivation-filled kind of transit. Aries season will allow you to become much more fiery and courageous in your next steps. And I would say arrange a spring cleaning, which normally happens around spring when it begins. But on this day particularly, it's a new phase of your life because you've been going through a lot of inner work for the first half of March. Now, the second half of March, it's all about really clearing out the space for you to start initiating something new. And it's very good to do that by clearing out things that you don't want anymore in your space. In other words, possessions, things that are really causing a backlog or stagnant feeling in your space, such as your bedroom or your home in general, like the attic or basement or even your office space. If you want to like feel clarity filled and much more clear in regards to your direction in life and feeling, less of the overwhelm, it's best done by space clearing. So on this day, very momentous to do it. Okay. So now we move forward to when Venus conjuncts Saturn on March 21st. So on this day, you can expect like solid promises. You can expect much more grounding in your life and your purpose. You feel much more clear as to the direction as to what you want to do. And Saturn gives you that path and structure of understanding with where you need to go and also laying down the framework as to what will be working with you. And when Venus works with Saturn, it's wonderful when it comes to contracts. And it's also a great moment to see what is working involving the matters of the heart. So this is a great time. Remember early part of this month where I told you, keep observing, keep reflecting. But on this day, it's very solid as to what you want. And it's also solid as to getting answers as to what you need to hear. And it could be a little serious in tone. However, it's sincere. And if you're up for a commitment discussion involving your relationship, today's the day to get answers. Now, on March 22nd, Mars enters Pisces. Mars is going to take on a different role. So Aries, for one, since we are in Aries season, Mars is the ruler planet of Aries. But when it enters Pisces on this day, this is going to be involving our physical drive, our motivation, and also how we get our traction in our life. Now, it's more based on our feelings as opposed to what is working for other people. Okay. Actions involving your love story will likely slow down, instilling this need to analyze its direction in line with compassion. So you'll feel much more like the need to listen more intently to what's going on. Listen intently with more of your intuition. As I mentioned before, Pisces is about reflecting and as well as becoming more introspective and calculating through feeling. So with Mars happening in the sign of Pisces, slow down. It's okay to slow down and observe because Aries season altogether will give you that support and traction to keep going. But with Mars that comes to play with Pisces, it will help you not make impulsive decisions. So your motivation will be steered in more of an energetic sense. What feels right will give you the boost you need. And now for the finality of the month of March, a major transit, which is the lunar eclipse. It is the official beginning of eclipse season. Now, the lunar eclipse is all about the full culmination of what has been unseen. So the lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra is pinpointing our focus towards relationships and also our next steps involving our love story. Lunar eclipses are essential when it comes to figuring out your current views on relationships. So Venus will be leading the moon in this transit. And with Venus in the sign of Pisces, it's more along the lines as to what you've been building together through a compassionate kind of standpoint. Are you feeling like you're your true self in this relationship? Or do you need to take a step back and analyze whatever it has been overlooked in your life? Remember, lunar eclipses are a full culmination of the full moon. It's like a super full moon. So full moons are about releasing. Now with lunar eclipses, this is going to be taking on a tone for the next 6 months. So it's not necessarily a day where you're going to get answers. It's more about the day as to what you need to analyze within the current environment of your love story. Whatever is weighing down you the most, you have to unpack the root cause of it and then let it go. So it's not a period for you to decide on anything. It's more of a period as to you analyzing the inner self and as well as the current environment involving your love story. So it could be a release of a relationship. It can also be a release of an aspect of a relationship, starting to build up on something new with what will be meaningful for you and your partner. And it also could be a release as to what you currently see involving love. So you will be repivoting your views towards love in a much different kind of way. And you're going to be living a lot different paradigm within the next 6 months involving your relationships. So just keep in mind that this period is auspicious and it's essential for you to listen because lunar eclipses are very pivotal in our life journey. It is meant for you to become much more intentional in your process to life, or not necessarily being the type of person who just goes through life on autopilot. It's more for you to become much more centered and authentic with your love story. So whether it is that you're releasing a relationship, or if you're single, or if you are just in some kind of aspect of your life story where love is in question, you have to take a step back in terms of you observing with what is weighing down the most. And once you release that, you're going to be making a much more incredible impact in your life direction. You become much more in alignment with your authentic self. And therefore, you bridge in so many incredible connections down the road. And that is your message for the lunar eclipse. Thank you so much for watching this month's astrological forecast, and I cannot wait to reconnect with you soon. Be well.